Hey, what's up? This is Mikey for Electrek, and in this video we're going to take a first drive in the Nissan Ariya. Alright, so a little bit of a disclaimer. They are describing this as being the European spec, and also they're describing it as a prototype. So this one has the smaller battery pack that is not going to be available immediately in the US, and it also has the higher trim level. So this has some of the better touch points like the faux leather steering wheel, a couple of bells and whistles in that regard, and this exact configuration is not going to be available in the US that I know of. But anyways, this is going to get us really close to the Nissan Ariya for the US, but not exactly. So take a little bit of what I'm saying with a grain of salt. They put us here on a test track to drive the car around. It's pretty good for some of the stuff, but for the city features, especially for like the Pro Pilot 2.0 and the lane assist and things like that, we can't do any of that here on the track. So this is not a conclusive review, but anyways, let me proceed. So the Nissan Ariya is the long-awaited second electric car from Nissan. Their first electric car was the Leaf, introduced in 2010, and it was good for the time. And we're finally here with the second electric car, occupying the compact SUV or CUV or crossover segment. I will say that the Nissan Ariya is comfortably a crossover. It is not a tiny, small crossover the way that maybe like the Nissan Rogue would be called, or even the Kia EV6. That thing is a hatchback, in my opinion, and the way I see it, there's no way around it. It's a hatchback. It's not an SUV by any means. Not even a compact SUV, I wouldn't even say. Anyways, Nissan Ariya is definitely a crossover. You have the height, particularly in the cabin, and you also have a pretty wide wheelbase. It has a similar wheelbase to the Volkswagen ID.4. So you're in a comfortable spot here. This is very much a car that's going for the most popular segment that is also occupied by the Model Y and the Mach-E from Ford. So in that space, it's pretty good. I mean, I would say there's nothing groundbreaking in this vehicle, and I think they're kind of okay with that. They do have some better technology called E-Force that's coming to their all-wheel drive models at some point in the future, but we're not able to drive a Nissan Ariya with that today. I want to. But without it, this is still a decent electric crossover. It's very similar to the ID.4. I spent some quality time with that last summer. I also spent some good time with the Ioniq 5 and a little bit of time with the Model Y. I would say that this is pretty much in the middle of the first two, anyway. I would say that in terms of suspension, again, this is the European spec, it does feel a little bit loose, I would say. It does feel more SUV-ish. It doesn't have that track feel. It doesn't have that tight turning. So it's a little more smooth around the edges, I would say. I think that's a good thing for the profile of the vehicle, a really good thing for the segment that they're going for. I'd say that the target audience for this, which is current Nissan owners and people who might have some other gas car, I think that acceleration is really going to surprise them. I think they're going to be really excited with that. For people who are more accustomed to a Tesla, then it's a different story. So one thing I do like about the acceleration is that, like any EV, even the Nissan Leaf, when you're at a dead stop, you punch it, it goes, instant torque, it's amazing. When you're already at speed, when you already have some momentum, the Leaf can't really keep up on that. But on the Ariya, it can. So if you're already going like 40 kilometers an hour, is what I'm reading, or no, yeah, there we go, about 50 kilometers an hour, you can still punch it and still get a little more guts out of it. I think that they have this motor tuned perhaps with some additional windings in there so that it can actually keep punching past, 10 miles an hour, whatever that comes out to in kilometers. And this is a big improvement from the Leaf. I would hope so. It's been over 10 years. Gosh. All right, let's talk about the interior. They spent a fair amount of time talking about craftsmanship during their presentation, and I think it shows. I really like the interior. I like the materials that they used. I like the texture points. I like that they have this this faux wood across the bottom of the dash. They have the faux leather for the steering wheel. I do realize this is the upper trim for the European versions. They also have cloth up on the top of the dash area, and they have the plastic kind of out of reach, and I guess I'm okay with that. But I like it quite a bit. They also have this pattern that they use quite a few times as kind of like a background theme or like a trim level theme. They have this pattern that was inspired by old Japanese lanterns used during the medieval period. And that's kind of cool. It has some Japanese flavor to it. There's a lot to be said about the minimalism of Tesla, but there's a very, very big difference between something that is minimal because you want it to be clean and something that is minimal because you have no substance. Nissan is not going that way at all. The floorboards inside the vehicle are flat, so you don't have a transmission tunnel taking up space, but instead you have more room for your legs, or a purse if you really want to, or a basketball if you want to do something dangerous. I like that there's a lot of interior space in that regard. This vehicle has the footprint of, they were comparing it to the Nissan Rogue, so it takes about as much space in your garage as the Nissan Rogue, but because it has a wide wheelbase, because you have a lot of interior space without all that junk in the way, then you have a lot more cargo space. One thing it did come at the cost of was the front trunk. With the Kia and the Hyundai, they put like this cabinet thing in the hood. It's like a ceremonial front trunk, and I don't like it. I feel like it's insulting almost. So I gotta respect Nissan. They did not do that. They just have a regular old space up front for all the maintenance, I suppose. It really includes just your reservoirs for cooling the battery, the motor, and also your brake fluid, and you know, a handful of other stuff, inverter, blah, blah, blah. But all that stuff's up there. There's no storage, and I'm kind of okay with that. They said that they took some of this stuff that would have been occupying the interior space and shoved it up there into under the hood. And it does show there is lots of space up here in the front. So I don't have my notes with me, so I can't get into too many details about it, but some last closing remarks before we wrap this up. I like driving this car. This car is perfectly competent as an electric crossover. I think it's a great vehicle. Anybody coming from a gas car into this is really going to love it. I think that the Ariya is, we kind of get in this mindset that it's occupying a very crowded space, but there's a really big market for vehicles like these. I think that the Ariya, the ID4, the Mach-E, I think these are going to be the vehicles that convert a lot of people to electric. And while the Teslas came first and plenty of other vehicles came before the Tesla, and they're definitely going to be the ones that take a lot of the credit for electrifying the market, it's going to be these vehicles that people have. It's going to be these vehicles that people get on a huge, huge mass market level. And I think they've earned it. I have really nothing bad to say about the Ariya. The worst things that I have to say about the Ariya are that I want to try out the features that I can't do today. I want to try it out in the city. I want to try out level 2 autonomy. I want to try out all-wheel drive. That stuff's coming towards the fall, they say. But that's about it. Is that I'm just trapped on this little test track. That's my biggest complaint. I can talk about the past. I can talk about how Nissan didn't have a new electric car for 10 years. And I'm an early Leaf owner, so I've been counting. But really, that's spilt milk under the bridge at this point. Looking forward, Nissan has a great electric crossover, and I think that anyone would just absolutely love to have this car.